Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about how to build meaningful business connections without wasting your time. Yep, I'm talking about business networking. If you're one of those people who finds networking overwhelming, or you're worried about wasting your time, or you're not quite sure how to figure out which events and which networking opportunities are worth your time, then this video is for you. And you kind of know when you need to broaden your network. So if you're a freelancer or you have a service-based business and you've pretty much outgrown your friends and family list. Yep, you know what that feeling is like. And it's not just for the newbies or the beginners in business. If you're more established, you get to a point where either you need to improve your profile as a business founder, or you need to increase your visibility, or actually you're looking for people to join your team. And so you kind of need to network and get out there. However, with networking, you've got to play the long game, and you'll hear me talk a little bit more about this later on in the video. And it's all about building those deep, meaningful business connections that stand the test of time, that you have a strong network of people that you can turn to when you need advice, or when you need support, or when you need a second opinion, people that you know that you can speak to without judgment, without hesitation, and that they will support you and provide you with connections, collaborations, opportunities, and advice that is in your best interest. In this video, I'm going to share 4 criteria that I use to work out whether or not to attend business networking events, but also I'm going to share 6 general tips when it comes to building meaningful business connections. At a really interesting point, we're slowly easing out of the pandemic, well, certainly in London where I'm at. For some people, it might feel like your professional networks and your personal networks have shrunk because of lockdown. For some, they've expanded because they've really embraced the online way of doing things. But whichever way, we're going back into a world of seeing people face to face. It almost feels inconceivable that I'll be standing in a room with like more than 10 people, having not done that for the last year or so. Many of us are going to be a lot more considered and a lot more selective about which events we attend in. I think it's important to set a bit of context for how I developed this criteria. Early on in my business journey, I attended a TED Talk, and this guy mentioned that he attends 3 networking events a week. At the time, I was attending 1 event a week, and I was like, oh, I'm doing really well. And then I was like, whoa, that feels like a lot. But his point was, if you did that consistently over a long period of time, just the sheer volume of doing that means that you would expand your network in such a big way that it was definitely something worth exploring. So the way I decided to do it for myself was that I would attend 2 to 3 events a week for 3 weeks in a month, and then the last week I'd just stay at home and hibernate and not see anyone. So I did that for like a couple of years, and obviously just the sheer experience of doing that means that I've had to develop criteria for myself. So that's really 4 criteria that I use to determine whether or not to attend an event and to make sure that I'm not wasting my time are as follows. I ask myself, am I speaking? Am I supporting someone or seeking support? Am I learning something that I haven't learned already? And does the event have a diverse panel? As far as I'm concerned, being a speaker at an event is the best way to build meaningful connections for your business. Yeah, I know that the thought of speaking at an event sometimes makes people feel, but just hear me out. First of all, you develop a relationship with the person who's organizing the event. The nature of speaking really forces you to crystallize your position and your unique selling point and what it is that you do and what your business is about. You might be watching this and thinking to yourself, I'm so nervous about speaking at events. I don't know if I have anything that I can speak about. If you take a step back and reflect, there's definitely something that you can speak about authoritatively for more than 5 minutes. It could be your skill set. It could be your previous profession. It could be that you've had a career transformation and you have a message around that you can share with people. It could be just simply sharing your business journey so that you can help and inspire other people. There isn't a single person watching this who doesn't have a message that they can share that would be helpful to other people. So if you're watching this and thinking, speaking is not my bag, anyone can do it. It just takes practice and putting yourself forward for opportunities. The other thing is flexibility. So there are certain events where you think to yourself, oh, one day I'd like to speak at this event. Don't wait for one day. What you can do is put yourself forward and say, look, I know you've already selected the people that you'd like to speak at this event. This is my area of knowledge and this is my area of expertise. So if anyone cancels or is not able to attend at short notice, I'd be happy to step in and cover for them. That is such a good way of building social capital with people who are organizing events, but also putting yourself forward for an opportunity where if you get lucky, you might just end up on a stage that you wouldn't have anticipated you'd end up there. Final point, when it comes to speaking, it's so important to have a 3 to 5 minute pitch about you and your business, because sometimes you can be called upon to speak when you're not expecting that it'll happen. Quick story, last year before the pandemic hit, I was invited to attend the WOW anniversary dinner by the amazing Jude Kelly, who's the founder of the WOW Festival. There were so many amazing celebrities and people that you recognize from telly, and women just doing lots of amazing work. And there was a point at the dinner where people were called upon to give speeches. So I was sitting there eating my fish, thinking to myself, look, if you're gonna speak at this event, they'd have warned you, so I don't have anything to worry about. So I'm eating my fish, enjoying myself, and then I just see Jude Kelly advancing towards me with a microphone, being like, oh yeah, Janet, say something about Janet's list. And I was like, shit. But luckily I had a 3 to 5 minute pitch, which I was, I can just do it with my eyes shut now. And so I just leaned on that, and I just gave, a quick story, a little bit of a joke at the beginning, and I think it landed really well. If you're enjoying this video and you're finding the information helpful and useful, please remember to click on that like button, but also to subscribe to the channel so that you can get notifications when future videos come out on the channel. So the second criteria that I use to determine whether or not to attend an event is support. It's as simple as that. If someone in my network or if one of the brands on Janet's list is having an event, if I can find a way to attend and support that brand, then I will definitely do that. Supporting people in your broader business network is just a really good way of building meaningful connections. Showing up for people, it's an opportunity to catch up in person if you're able to. It's an opportunity to find out what's happening with your business connections, if they have anything new. So do not underestimate the power of turning up to support people at their events. The point about support works both ways. So it could be you attending to support someone in your network. Obviously, a brand like mine, Janet's List, we have so many amazing brands by Black women and women of color. So where I can show my support in person, obviously when we're back to attending events in person, then it's definitely something that I'll try to do. So if for your business, perhaps you're growing your team, or if you need some very specific expertise, so it might be branding or help with videos or help with social media, I find attending targeted events can be a good way to, chat to people, because you might get lucky and find exactly the person that you're looking for who will help to move your business forward. I'm the type of person, I love learning new things. I like discovering new knowledge. And so I just got to a point where I found myself attending events that were quite similar in terms of workshops and seminars. And so I had to become a little bit more discerning by asking myself the question, am I learning something that I just cannot learn elsewhere? Or the person who's speaking, do they have specific knowledge that I can't get elsewhere? If the answer to that is yes, then I will attend that event. If the answer to that is no, and I'm not speaking or I'm not supporting someone in my network, then I've just had to be like, I'm not attending that event. Final criteria, which is as important as all of the other criteria, is diversity and inclusion. So if I get a notification for an event and it's all men, we're done with those manuals, none of that. Or it's all white people. Every person who's putting on an event has a responsibility to ensure that the representation of people speaking at that event is diverse. So for me, if an event lacks that diversity, I'm out. It's as simple as that. So we've gone through the 4 criteria, which I hope moving forward you'll find useful in determining whether or not to attend particular business network. In the next section, I'm going to set out 6 simple tips, which I hope will be helpful to you in terms of nurturing those business connections so that they can be meaningful. If you take away one thing from the video, it's this: be very careful, thoughtful, and intentional when making business introductions. And one of the ways to do this is to always do double introductions. What that means is you should take a step back and check with each person that they're happy for you to make the introduction to the other person. Now, it's an extra step and it obviously takes a lot of time, but it means that both people are primed for that introduction when it comes through. It also means you can check in with them. So if someone's like, actually, I've got a lot on at the moment, then you can respect that and say, I'm really sorry, I can't make the introduction at this point. It just forces you to be really thoughtful about those introductions. And so naturally, it means that you will make higher quality introductions. And what that means over time is that people know that when they see that you've made an introduction, you're not just making it for fun. There's definitely something in it, and it's worth their while for them to pay attention. And so there's certain people that I know I can make an introduction without doing a double intro. But if you don't know people really well, or if you're still really early on in that relationship, definitely take that extra step because it pays off in the long run. Second tip with business networking and building business connections is that it is a long game. So I would suggest focusing on playing the long game and building deeper connections rather than rushing to accumulate lots of business. Do you remember in those days of going to events and you had like your stack of business cards? Gosh, it feels like such a long time ago, and that panic where you're like, oh my goodness, I've run out of business cards and I'm going to an event. Anyway, the other thing with meaningful business connections is they can't be rushed. That relationship just develops over time. So just let things play out the way that they're supposed to play out. Don't rush things. Don't rush things if you don't have to. When it comes to building business connections, it's not just about meeting people at business networking events. In fact, I'm one of those people, I just decided I would never attend one of those morning events where you have to recommend a certain number of people. No. You know, there are lots of other places that you can meet people. It could be at gigs, it could be at art events, it could be at church, it could be through volunteering. At the end of the day, it's not so much about the event, but more about the opportunity to connect and to understand and to know people. And so for me, I used to volunteer at a charity called SmartWorks. I did that for close to 9 years. Volunteering on Saturdays is where I met Adonica, who is now my podcast co-host, who was the person that when I had this mad idea to take Janet's List to Amsterdam, I was like, are you gonna come with me? And she was like, hell yeah. And off we went, and we had an amazing time. So this is a relationship that developed through simply being volunteers at the same place. You know, we would come across each other over Saturdays, and over time we got to know each other as people, and then we got to know each other as friends. And finally, when the opportunities to collaborate and work together, it was just like a hell yeah situation. Do not underestimate the power of your existing networks and opportunities to meet people, because you never know, you know, that your next collaborator or your next partner in a partnership might already be in your existing net. A couple of points when it comes to physically attending events. You know, it's going to be a different world. We're all going to be a bit more selective. I'm one of those people, if I attend an event and it's actually not the right event for me, please don't be afraid to cut your losses and leave and just reclaim that time back. Just don't feel bad about it. The other thing sometimes is if I'm really pressed for time. So for example, when I have my pop-up shops coming up, that is always such a busy period in my life. I might attend the first half or the last half of an event, but I'd always notify the person organizing the event. So usually it'll be because I'm going to support someone, or they're in my network, or I'm speaking. So then I would say I can only attend the first 30 minutes or the last 30 minutes. Is that okay? So that's also something that you can. And then obviously a big part of networking is email. And email, I have to say, is one of my weak points. I take so long to respond to emails. You just have to be true to who you are. So I'm one of those people, if I'm emailing someone, it's because I have something to say, and I have a lot to say, and I'll put it all in one email. Whereas there's some people who, you know, shoot off emails quite quickly. Just be true to who you are. Over time, people will get to know you and how you communicate and how you choose to. And if you're well-intentioned, people will know that as well. As always, in every video on this channel, we put a spotlight on a brand by a Black woman or woman of color from the UK. And quite often it's a brand that's on Janet's List or one of our partners or collaborating brands that we've worked with. And so the spotlight for this video is going to be on Girls Talk London, which is an amazing organization. The founder, Vanessa Sanyauke, has become, like, hands down one of my most valued business connections, and over time she has become a close friend as well. And so when I think about business networking and developing that relationship over time, you know, she's one of the first people that comes to mind. And in fact, I'm thinking back to one of my favorite networking events where Vanessa had a whole day event at HSBC for young women. So just to tell you a bit about what Girls Talk London does, they help and work with young women and girls to encourage them and to provide them with tangible support so that they can pursue careers in STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and maths. And Vanessa has done amazing work over the years. So back to that event at HSBC. What I liked about it, it was an event that ticked literally all of my criteria. So So first of all, I was speaking and I was on a panel with lots of other amazing women. And then I was supporting someone in my network. So in that sense, I was supporting Vanessa and her event. And then on top of that, I learned so much from all of the different speakers who presented and spoke on the day. And finally, it was a diverse panel. Knowing Vanessa, it's something that, is so important to the work that she does. So thinking back to those criteria, for me, the best events are ones where I can fulfill all of those 4 criteria in one go. And what started off as a business connection has now turned into a valuable friendship. So for me, this is a really good example of building a meaningful business connection. Now, if you know of a young girl or a young woman who is interested in pursuing a career in science or technology and doesn't know where to start, please point her in the direction of Girls Talk London. Check out their website, check out their Instagram, sign up to their newsletter, and make sure you keep up to date with what they're doing. Because the way the world is going, we could do with so many more young women pursuing careers in science, technology, engineering, and maths. Okay, so that brings me to the end of this video about building meaningful business connections. I hope you found it helpful and useful. There is definitely more where that came from. So I'm gonna stick a couple of videos in the boxes above that relates to business and strategy. And